Hello and welcome to the latest video in the series of Motion. In this video, we are going to talk about Arc, which is a new API introduced by Motion. If you want to animate one element from one page to other, one part of the page to other, and you wanted to follow an arc instead of a straight line, this video is for you and this API is for you. In this video, we are going to create this animation, which you open and close, and you see this arc animation which goes on. If I close this, you'll see it follows an arc or a path of an arc. That is what we are going to discuss. And it is a very straightforward animation that you can do with one line of code. If you want to learn more about it, go to motion.dev's documentation and you can play around with this new arc API that you can pass in the transition prop. If you want to stick around and learn about how you can do it as well, let's get right into the video. And at the end of the video, I'll be announcing the platform that we've been building for you to actually learn motion. With that, let's get started. I have my code editor open here. So we have got stacked cards. I will open this and this is what we have. Now first, I need to create a background image and I need to create the container as well. That is exactly what I'm going to do right now. So I'll call it stacked cards here. I'll remove these cards and this is what we have. So first things first, I need HDVH, width full, relative, and I need a background image. So that I'll probably add it here. Const card BG is going to be this, and it can be this image from Unsplash. So now if I give this as a style, background image would be URL, and I pass in card BG. You'll see what I'm talking about. This is what we have. I want to size it a bit properly. For that, I'll have BG cover, BG center, and BG no repeat so that image is aligned right at the center. What I'll do is now I'm going to create cards and I need icons for that as well. That is what I'm going to do. The cards which you see down below, this is what I'm calling card. And that is what I'm going to build right now. So const cards would be, first we'll label Safari. You'll also see there is a background gradient which is going. I want the start and end positions. For that, I'll also hardcode the start and end positions of the gradient. You'll see later in the video how you can actually do it. But for now, just take along. So I'll call it center would be var color blue 300. Edge would be var color blue 700 maybe would work. All right, this is nice. And I also need an icon for this. Icon would be icon brand Safari from tabular icons. So import icon brand Safari from tabular icons. Cool. Now I need three more. That is what I'm going to do. Second would be files. This can be rows. This can be rows. Icon folder is what I'm going to import. Third would be mail icon and it'll be icon mail. Why is tabular icons crying? All right. npm I tabular icons react. npm run dev. Installed it, right? All right, it is installed. Third thing is I want icon mail and it'll be icon mail already available from tabular icons. I think I've imported it as well. Fourth would be music and it'll be icon music, and that I can import from tabular. Rose ho gaya. What else? Blue is already done. I think I can do pink. One more I can do, I think indigo. Last thing is I want to align them at the bottom. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the container which has to be at the bottoms. For that, I'll need to do it. I'll have to make it a flex center, or I'll have to make it a flex container. For that, I'll be making it flex. Items would be end. Justify would be center. Let's go ahead and create a motion div. Motion, and we are also going to import motion from motion react, and it'll be use client. All right, we have our motion div. This has to have some styling because we need to align it at the bottom and we need to have some backdrop blur as well. That is what I'm going to do right now. For that, what I'll do is mx auto mb8 flex item start justify start. Let's say p can be 2, rounded can be 2xl. Backdrop blur SM. Let's see how it looks currently. Not this, but this. Icon brand Safari can't resolve tabular icons. All right, you don't see anything. I don't know, that is weird. I have something here, ABCD. I'll start by adding icons though. Also, I can give it some more classes like border white by 10. Let's start with that. Okay, I see it. It is very small at the bottom. I'll fix that up in a bit. But before that, let's have our icons and some shadowing on top as well. So shadow would be 0 pixels minus 1 pixels, 0 pixels, 0 pixels, var color white or color neutral 200. Okay, I see some arc and same shadow. I think I need at the bottom. It'll be at the top, sorry. 0 px, 1 px, 0 px, 0 px, var color can be white. So I see that, but I want it to be more spread out. Second one, I'll spread it out a bit. It's more spread, it's more toned down. You see this little dot right at the bottom? That is what we are making right now. Let's go ahead and do the rest of the styling. White by 30 so that we see it better. Awesome. Now I think I can just start adding icons. For that, I need, and I'll call it not cards, I'll call it doc. So we know what we are dealing with. So doc.map item index, and it is going to be a motion dot button because we need to click shit. Key would be item dot title. I think title is already there, or label, whatever. And I want to give it some styling. Flex size 12 items, center, justify, center, text, white, all of this stuff. And we are going to add our icon here. Can be simply item.icon. Class name would be size 6. Let us see what we have. We have all of these things right at the bottom like we actually wanted, but we need background gradients for these, which we had earlier. So for that, we are going to write a class or an inline style that will be for background gradient. That how we can do it is we are going to define two variables, gradient angle and gradient center and gradient edge, that we already have edge and center. For that, we are going to do this gradient edge would be item dot edge, gradient center would be item dot center. Now if you want to remove these as react dot css properties, and that will be gone. So we have our style tag in which we are defining these variables. Now we are going to use these variables to actually style the icon container. For that, what we can do is background would be radial gradient, and it will be a circle, var gradient center 0%, var gradient edge 100%. Now if I refresh, you see we have these things right over here. I will quickly make it rounded 2xl gap, and gap can be here. I think gap can be 4. So you see, not 4, 2 rounded xl. Cool. We have our items here rightly aligned. Now, why did I do this gradient angle approach is because if you're going to animate or if you're going to pass in this, it won't animate nicely. This is other way of passing the gradient center and gradient angles. Otherwise, you can just hard code these classes and have it as well. If you want to animate these edge and center angles, you'll have to pass it like this and you'll have to change these values. I'll maybe show it to you in a bit in this video as well, but let's move on. Now, what we want to do here is we want to have one more box right over here and one more box right over here, which is exactly going to animate from one position to another. We are going to use layout IDs for that. And to achieve that, let's create first two variables, const is minimized, set minimized, and it has to be used state. Also, I want to set the width on this one. Width would be, let's say, 20 rem. That's a bit too much. 14 rem is fine. And once we have our container here, it has to be 20 rem. So what I'll do is here is minimized 20 rem, otherwise 14 rem, and I'll animate it. All right. And right now it is not minimized. So that is what we are going to do. Let's go ahead and create our main container, which you close and it goes somewhere. Let's try and do that. First, we need not is minimize, and we are going to have a div. Class name would be absolute inset 0 flex items center justify center, and we are going to give it a div. All right, let's create our container. Actually, it is going to be a motion.dev. Class name would be pointer events auto, so that we actually want to click. Z20 flex width can be 72. Max width can be cursor, can be grab. So we want to have the drag animation also going. Flex call overflow hidden. And I'll also maybe open this. Shadow SM shadow black by 10 ring 1 ring black by 10. We are actually doing this because it gives some elevation with shadow to the actual box which we are creating. And once you see this, you'll get to know. And active can be cursor grabbing. Do we have anything? Maybe P1. So you see actually where we are playing actually here. First, I'll give it some backgrounds and stuff. So BG white. You see this and you see this, and I click and it is grabbing right now. Rounded also can be there. Rounded would be 2XL. Next part is I want to actually give it a cross icon and the image that I want. So it can be simple dot h10. So that is height 10. Flex item center justify between or justify end. I'll just have close icons, so it is simpler. Inside of it, I want to have a button which is going to have icon X from tabular icons. Class name would be size 4 shrink 0, so it doesn't shrink. Close it up, and on click would be set minimized would be to be true. So if I click this, minimize is true and our width increases at the bottom. Nice. Finally, we want to have px2, so that is nicely there. And now I want to have our image tag here. Simple image tags, aspect video. It is the image container that you are going to create. Overflow hidden, again shadow sm shadow black by 10 ring 1 ring black by 10 rounded lg. Inside I want image, source would be card bg. Let's see what we have here. It is weird. Flex call. Now it is better. So instead of the cross being here, bg red 500, flex call justify end bg red can go. Yeah, this is fine. I also want to make it draggable just for the lulls of it. So I'll just do drag momentum would be going to be false. So now I can just drag it around. Once I close this, it has to come here. That is exactly what I want, but I want it to animate. Now, if you have watched my motion playlist, we need to actually have one more motion div over here so that we grab it there through layout IDs. That is exactly what I'm going to do here. So it is going to be is minimized and it is going to be a motion.button. We want to have the same sort of stylings like we have for icons. So that is what I'm going to do right now. But first on click is going to set is minimized false. And inside of it, we want our image. Class name would be h full w full rounded lg object cover, and also want to give a bit of styling onto the button as well. So class name would be flex size 12 items center, justify center, rounded XL, and I think overflow hidden. So now if I close this, you see this thing comes right over here. And if I open, source would be card BG. All right. So click, opens it up, click, closes it up. I think I can adjust the size of it a bit. Of 20, make it 18 rem. That's better. So if I close or if I open, close, open. Now, since our layout is shifting, if I click, it is adjusting, right? Maybe I can have layout prop here. Maybe that will fix it. Weird, but okay. We'll fix that in a few. Icons are adjusting, which I don't like, which will fix that in a few. But first, let's go ahead and animate this shit and learn about arc, which is already there. So for that, give it a layout ID of card image container. Same layout ID, we have to pass it to the main container, which is already there, which is this. Now, if I come up over here and if I close this, you see it animates it to there. Open it, it animates. Proper animation. It animates nicely. That is exactly what we want. But we want it to follow an arc. That is what we are going to do. Instead of just animating in a linear path, we want to animate it in an arc rather. That is what we are going to do currently. I think I missed minimized. Div class name would be relative string 0. It is shrinking somehow, which I don't like. Maybe I can give it here. Layout ID and motion.dev. Let us see. Size 12. Instead, maybe I can have p pixel. I'm just playing out loud here by I want to style it properly. And maybe this can be a button. Anyway, I fixed it up a bit. I've added some accessibility into it. Now let's go ahead and talk about arc. Now, if you want to define an arc, you have to simply do this const arc path is equal to arc. This is your arc that you import from Motion React. Now, if you go to here, transition path, arc path, you can simply animate this with an arc. So now if I close, see, it took an arc instead of a linear path. See, close and open is an arc instead of a simple path. That is what we exactly wanted with this, and that is what is happening. Now, there are a few properties that you can pass, and those are, first is strength, second is peak. I want the peak to come at 0.2, rotate, true. If you want the arc to rotate in direction, can be counterclockwise or clockwise. So once I have these values, if I close this, you see the path is modified. Peak generally means where in the arc your peak comes at 20% or comes at 80%, depends upon you. So if you do that, you see that is what we have, and it is rotating counterclockwise. If you do it clockwise, it will rotate clockwise, and that is as simple as it can get. That is crazy. Cool, right? And now for the big part. That was it for the video. If you enjoyed using Arc, because this is so simple, but it gives you so much of flexibility that you can animate, for example, anything. If you want to add something to cart, you want to have that animation in which the cart item rotates and follows an arc instead of a linear path. You can do so with arc function from motion, and it is as simple as that. Pass into any transition property of a motion div or anything motion element, and it'll rotate and it'll follow an arc seamlessly. That is what we had. And now for the final announcement. And if you want to learn more about it, you can go to acelearn.dev. By the way, this is something that I'm building. If you have taken my motion course, if you want to follow along, this is the website that you need to visit. This is called acelearn.dev. For example, if you go here, go to React animations, it follows my playlist. So you'll have videos for every animation that we have built. And I'm just getting started with it. For example, this video will be here. And the explanation and helpful code snippets will also be there. All the code that I share will be there. All the resources will be there. And also there will be quizzes if you want to practice your art. For example, we go from a button to if you want to go to hooks or variants, for example, you can do so. And you will see we have all sorts of animations going on here. We also have quizzes, and I'm making a lot of these. If you go to hook section, there is a question that you scroll and this progress bar fills it up. We also have a solution for that, and I also talk about how you can make it through this explanation. We've got lots of things going on. If you want to learn more about Arc and see these examples along with their code as well for the entire component, this is the website to visit. Go to acelearn.dev if you want to learn motion. And that was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about what acelearn is, go to acelearn.dev. I'm coming up with more playlists. For example, Tailwind is pending. I'll add Tailwind playlist there with examples. Of course, I'll be coming up with the design engineering and design taste related things over onto that website as well. So stick around. I'll be releasing a couple of resources and helpful code snippets for you to actually learn and get better at design engineering. That was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. तब तक के लिए bye. जय हिंद. बहुत काम करो, बहुत मेहनत करो. नेक्स्ट वीडियो में मिलता हूँ.